So Kel Mitchell was on Club Shay Shay. Shout out to Shannon Sharp, man. Shannon Sharp is, someone said he's the new Oprah. And it's like, not quite. Like Oprah is a masterful interviewer. Shannon's not there yet. He's really good at asking questions, but he kind of stumbles into situations. Like when Cat Williams started talking, that was just Shannon just asking a question and just Cat ran with it. And the same thing with Kel Mitchell. Shannon asked him a question and Kel was talking. And then out of that question, he ended up talking about his first wife. And that's how we ended up where we are today. So shout out to Club Shay Shay, man. They're doing a lot of good work over there. But back to Kel. So I'm sure you know if you know the story, but if you don't know the story, Kel was talking about his first wife, and before they got married, she was pregnant, and they got rid of the baby. But afterwards, when they got married, he found out the baby wasn't his, and then during the course of their marriage, she got pregnant by two other men. But Kel stayed because one, I think he's just a good dude. Two, he was only 21 years old, and who knows, that woman at that time he probably felt he met the love of his life, or it might have been the best sex he ever had. You know, guys stick around if it's good sex. Don't be fooled. There's a lot of guys who stay in bad relationships because the sex is great. Um, so, but also he said that he wanted to respect his vows, even though his wife didn't, allegedly, and plus they had kids, and I think he tried to do what a lot of couples do. Like, I think there's a lot of couples who've been together for a long time who stayed for the kids. And that's not a good thing either. Just because the kid grows up or the kids grow up watching their parents not be in love, not touching each other, being hostile towards each other, or just being very cordial and not loving. And they grow up thinking, well, that's what a relationship is like. It's like, I can be distant, I can be cold, because that's what they think it is. So sometimes staying together for the kids is probably not the best thing. But Kel was trying to do the best he can at 21. And one of the things he said that he did wrong was that he kept everything inside. Like, these things clearly with her cheating on him was hurting him, but he didn't say it. There was a story that he was trying to get a film together for him, Nick Cannon and Keenan Thompson. It fell through, and Keenan and Nick found out about it and kind of made fun of him because he couldn't close the deal, and he was hurt by that. But he didn't say anything. He kept everything inside. I think a lot of dudes do that. Like, I think he said that when his marriage was going south, I think his dad wanted to come out there to California, and he said, "No, man, I'm good. I got it." So he kept that stuff inside. So when the marriage ended and the career wasn't going well, he thought about offing himself in a hotel room. But he didn't. You know, he got remarried. I think he's been married since 2012. He became a youth pastor. Good Burger 2 came out, did well. You know, him and Keenan seem to be friends again, so they're cool. So life seems to be on the upswing for him. And he's 45 years old. He doesn't like he's 45. So he's 45 years old. So life is good for him. But yeah, there was a point where life was not good for Kel Mitchell. Oh yeah. If you're in a crisis, if you think about offing yourself, if you have anxiety, depression, and you don't know where to turn, call 988. This is not an ad or anything like that. 988 is a free toll-free number. And if you're in a crisis, there's volunteers who talk to you and try to help you out. They talk to you for like 15, 20 minutes. It's a really good service. So if you're ever in need, call 988. So one of the tragic stories about Kel is SNL. Now, Keenan has been on there forever, and Keenan is the longest running cast member on SNL. It's always funny when people say, like, he's one of the best cast members ever. It's like, no. Keenan's fine. He's not Eddie Murphy. Like, he'll never be Eddie Murphy. He's fine. But the tragedy of that story is that him and Kel both auditioned for Saturday Night Live at the same time, and Lauren Michaels, who produces the show, chose Keenan over Kel when they both should have been on there. But Lauren has this thing in recent years where it seems like he wants to be a kingmaker. So he'd rather take talent that's not that great and try to make them great than having someone who already has that talent and just have them blow up. The reason why Eddie Murphy did so well on SNL is that Lauren Michaels wasn't around. When Belushi and Gilda Radner and Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd, when they all left SNL, like in 80, I think, or 79, Lauren Michaels left too. He didn't come back until like the mid 80s. But in between that time, Dick Ebersol ran SNL, and the show was so bad then that they basically, like, Eddie, like, you got something? It's like, yeah, I'll try. And Eddie basically took over the show. But I'm telling you, if Lauren Michaels was around, one, he might have never put on Eddie Murphy. But if he did, he probably would have treated Eddie just like he treated Damon Wayans, who was on SNL. He didn't use. Comedian Finesse was on there. He really didn't use him. JB Smoove was a writer on SNL at one point. They didn't use any of his stuff. And not to just make it black, Larry David was there too. Larry David was a writer on SNL too, and it's just like, it just didn't work. So I can see Kel watching Nick Cannon being successful and watching and Keenan being successful and his career is going to the crapper. I can see him feeling that way. But I mentioned before how Kel is a nice guy. Now I'm a nice guy. I tell people now I'm a decent guy now. Because when you say you're a nice guy, people expect you to be not perfect, but not to have a lot of flaws. And when you're a nice guy, you're flawed like everybody else. You might not be as severely flawed as everybody else, but you have stuff. Like me, I talk too much sometimes. I get on people's nerves. I annoy people. Just the usual stuff. But I think when you're a nice person, you try to see the good in people. And you hope that you maybe, especially when you're younger, that you rub off on them. But also when you get older, you kind of learn to say no. Like recently I had someone contact me and they wanted me to do something for them. And it wasn't anything horrible, but I just didn't feel comfortable with it. And I said, well, I got to think about it. I'm not sure. And he said, well, I thought we were friends. Like, yeah, we're friends. I don't feel like doing that. And I haven't heard from them since. And I feel like if that's your friend, regardless of what happens, they say, hey, okay, no bad. Don't worry about it. Yeah, we're good. Oh yeah, let me go back to Kel's marriage for a second. So Kel is taking a lot of hits from people who's saying that I would have never told that story. I would have took that story to the grave. His simpish behavior and all that stuff. I think it's kind of brave for Kel to even tell the story, because I don't care who you are. You could be the biggest player in your city. You can have a stable of women. You can lose one chick and pick one up all the time. You're that great with women. I'm telling you, even the best dudes with women has that one woman who was horrible, was toxic. He did things for her that he probably shouldn't have done. He paid for things that he probably shouldn't have paid for. She might have cheated on him. She might have done some things even worse, but he would never tell his boys. Because we've had these conversations before where he's like, hey man, how's your girl doing? It's like, she all right, man. She just tripping. So just saying just tripping is very broad. And most people don't say something. Okay, man, she just tripping. And then some dude might say, man, I feel you. I understand. No, you don't. I'm the person who might ask the question, what do you mean she's tripping? What's going on? But most people don't ask that question. They just kind of leave it alone. And you find out down the road that she might have done something horrible. But most guys don't want to be seen as a dude who let their woman run over him, especially if they got a pretty good rep with women. It's like, it's like, no, I run this. No woman runs me. I run this. Like, I'm telling you, nice guy or not, player or not, we've all had a chick in our lives who would just like frustrated us, but we'll never tell our friends what happened. Like me, I don't care because I talk anyway, but a lot of guys don't talk about their relationships. Like men and women are funny. Men sometimes don't say anything, and maybe they should, to just get it out. But women sometimes say too much in their relationships, so much that it might actually ruin a relationship that might actually be pretty good. So men sometimes talk too little about their relationships to their friends, and women sometimes talk too much about their relationships. But shout out to Kel Mitchell. I think him telling this story is a good thing, because there might be a young guy watching that video who might be in a similar situation. He might be in a toxic relationship with somebody, or he might be doing something for somebody who don't deserve it, or they might be cheating on them. And he's watching Kel like, wow, like Kel Mitchell actually went through this. Like I always thought like Kel's life was pretty golden. I thought like he was just a happy-go-lucky guy. And if he went through this, maybe I need to take a look at my relationship. So maybe in some ways, Kel is helping people, young and old, men, young and old, some women too, who are in bad relationships. And maybe his story might convince them to leave their relationships earlier than what Kel did, because he ended up having kids and being married for a while and divorced and all that stuff. Oh yeah, speaking of that, so his ex-wife put out some videos disputing everything. And then his daughter said some stuff too. And she was saying like Kel was there financially, but not, but he was an absentee father. But there's court records that say like he actually was trying to be a good dad. And, I feel like if a woman is keeping kids away from the father and his custody rights, that woman should go to jail. Not for a long time. But hey, men go to jail for child support, for not paying child support. But if you're keeping your kid away from that father, you should go to jail too.